Congresswoman, perhaps the largest issue over the past year and a half, 2 years, has been the economy. And I want to read you some stats really quickly and get your take on them. The S&P 500 made history last week, closing at a record high end-of-day price. The Dow Jones also traded near record highs last week, and the January jobs report was much stronger than expected. But this sentiment is not reflected at all by American voters. According to a recent Pew Research Center survey, only 28% of Americans would categorize the economy as excellent or good. So what is your economic pitch to voters?
Well, listen, let's just look at the reality, okay? We can have, CPI, which is, how it's calculated is, let's just not go there. But let's just look at the real inflation, look at the real estate prices, it's not just becoming unaffordable, it's unachievable for a lot of Americans. Prices are going up because we have inflation, which is real inflation is much higher. And what is going to do, people on fixed income, lower income people, that's a tax on all of us. And why do we have inflation? Well, let's just discuss, what is 80 or something percent of money been printed in the last 10 years? I mean, we spend no end, and only there are three ways to increase the amount of money. It's print money, borrow money, or increase taxes, right? There are no other way. If we print more money, we create inflation. If we borrow money, well, we'll spend already over $1 trillion on interest. We're going to destroy our fiscal situation, and we cannot, and the debt is out of control now, and then if you increase taxes, you're going to lose the middle class. We will be working for government, but what we've been doing, which is very without thoughtful process, we keep decreasing taxes and increasing spending and accumulated more and more debt. This is insanity. And now all of these funds are going bankrupt. As you know, Social Security will have 25% cut, what it's 32. Medicare is going to have cuts, 11%. Our highway funds is going to have huge cuts, automatic, if we do nothing. And no one even wants to have a discussion how it's going to hurt the people that actually rely on these programs. And runway is getting shorter and shorter. So this is becoming a problem. And then how do we keep this economy jobs? Let's just be honest. We are subsidizing with enormous amount of government money. And that's what keeps the economy afloat. The only reason it is it's looking not as bad. But in reality, we're not creating real job and GDPs where you have now pretty much government controlling such big parts of the economy and employment and everything else. Government is not the biggest innovators and movers shakers. It's not what little guy can do. And on top of it, what do they do? If you're closer to government, we now do finances through a lot of grants, government grants. Well, guess what? Who gets these grants? Who's closer to government and politician? What about the little guy who just wants to start, his business or her business? It's very difficult to get finances. We're destroying small banking, access to capital to small businesses. So if you are an entrepreneur and a person that want to do something, your life is getting tougher, tougher, and tougher. And now we have oligopolies controlling big parts, almost on every part of the market. That is actually, I would say that is getting more, when government controls means of production, that is actually, a pure definition of socialism by Karl Marx. And government, maybe not in the form, but in essence, controlling more and more means of production and centralizing power in DC. Very dangerous for our economy.
What's your pitch then to the everyday American, your constituent in Indiana? They're saying, hey, my bills are getting more expensive. My wallet simply can't keep up with this. What's your solution here?
Well, listen, and solutions actually not that you don't have to be genius. Just look what is driving this, what is driving this cost, right? What is driving? And if we look about it, what is driving cost of our goods? I think it's three major issues. One major issue is in our spending. That's why I fought so hard to put fiscal commission, and which we passed through budget committee. I mean, listen, I voted against the Republican rules. I'd write in speaker to vacate if I don't get it. I mean, I couldn't believe that I was like one woman standing, on this issue, but I'm a very determined woman. And just let's have a discussion. Listen, it's bipartisan, bicameral. Let's just have discussion where we can find common ground. And there is a lot, like in Medicare. I sent Biden, McCarthy, and Schumer a letter, 5 items, that Trump and Obama agreed on to help, to eliminate abuses in Medicare. 1.8 trillion. just 5 items. Bipartisan think tanks supported it that never wasn't allowed like to do site neutrality, just a pure overbilling by large hospital monopolies of Medicare. 120 billion. Oh, they didn't want to do anything like that. So I think there is a common ground. So let's deal with fiscal issue. Let's make sure that we have social security that we promise to people. And we are going to think what we're going to do for young people, but let's not change, because it's very difficult for like an old age to adjust to any changes. So let's just make sure that we save social security for people we promise. Let's have discussion how we're going to deal with economy growth. That's another thing, so energy policy, that is the second driver. Energy policy right now, not just benefits Russia and Iran, let's just be honest, in China, but it also hurts our economy. I went to Alaska, our pipeline is at half capacity. Why? Why couldn't we try to do some more energy production and research and maybe new innovative type of energy? We might also be running on fusion, in whatever, 20, 30 years, but technology is not there yet. So let's just not try to say utopian ideas, but do what is realistic right now and how we can put pressure on the people that really hurts that. So if you look at the spending, if you look at the energy, and number three issues is supply chain. It is very stupid for us to have 80% roughly dependency on China, regardless, if it's China or not, it's bad dependency, but communist country, it's even worse on our supply chain. So they can manipulate. When COVID happened, we saw what they were doing. There are a lot of opportunities for us to put policies that force diversification of supply chain, just bringing some transparency, and how we can then have smarter policies to invest in our domestic manufacturing, create smart domestic jobs. That will empower a lot of people. I represent big parts of community of former industrial Midwest that hurt significantly when we had bad policies and, kind of incentivized companies to move to China. It's very convenient when you don't have to follow crazy regulation. On top of it, you don't pay taxes if you invest in China. But if you invest domestically, you actually pay taxes and have a lot of regulation. Of course, companies are not stupid. So if we have a smarter policy, our fiscal policies and proper incentives, or even eliminate perverse incentives, they're going to help, and I think between, spending healthcare, energy policy, diversifying supply chain, we can have so much ingenuity and really growth of economy, which we need to have much more vibrant, real GDP, farming, mining, manufacturing, these are real GDP, and we kind of been really putting a lot of policies that hurt all of these three sectors.